What does leadership look like when your title says doctor, but the real work is building trust with parents, kids, and your team? Beyond the accolades, Dr. Reza Ardalan leads in a very human space where the stakes are high, the work is personal, and trust has to be earned over and over again. Today, we're talking about what it means to build a culture, lead with intention, and stay human while doing it. Welcome to Beyond the Pattern Life and Leadership Unlocked, the podcast for anyone ready to lead themselves and others differently. I'm Bukhalo Gantala, keynote speaker with over 20 years of experience in HR. I'm a firm believer that all leadership begins with self-leadership, because when you choose to change your pattern, you unlock the power to change your world. Hi, everybody. I'm Bukhalo Gantala. My guest today is Dr. Reza Ardalan, known by most as Dr. Reza. He's a pediatric dentist, an award-winning leader in his field, and someone who has built a practice and a professional reputation on care, credibility, and character. Dr. Reza has served in leadership roles across Florida and the Southeast, and he knows what it means to wear multiple hats: provider, practice owner, community voice, and cultural steward. Dr. Reza, welcome to the show.
What's up, girl? I'm so excited to be here, ready for an amazing conversation. We're going to have a blast.
Yes. And Dr. Reza is a lot of fun. I think he's going to bring it today. I expect he'll bring it today. He's a joke.
Well, if I'm speaking to you, I have to. I can become on the other end.
He might play it conservative. I'm not sure. But we'll see. So, Dr. Reza, welcome to the show. How are you doing, first of all? How are you doing? I know you've been nonstop.
Yeah, man, I'm doing amazing. Like, I feel like a lot of times, like, that's a choice. And I just would prefer to stay on that positive track. So I work with kids all day, so I get to act like a goofball. So it's hard not to have fun, doing what I do. So yeah, I'm always trying to keep positive attitude.
Nice. Now, I did my best to highlight key points from your bio. Is there anything I missed or anything you want to add for the audience?
No, we'll get into a bunch of it. It's, just like everybody that you've had on your podcast, like everybody's got all these accomplishments, but, that's fodder for your websites and whatever. It's what's inside that's going to matter. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So.
Okay. And for the audience, Dr. Reza is no joke. He's no joke. He's playing humble right now, but he's no joke. Okay. So put some respect on his name. Okay? So I covered your bio. Where can folks get a hold of you on social media or connect with your practice? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So personally, if you go for Instagram, my old school peeps, like I'm a little older, so even on Facebook, TikTok, whatever it is, Dr. Reza Ardalan. And then the practice is Ardalan Pediatric Dentistry. So if you look up Ardalan Dental, if you want to see me act silly, act like a clown, you can laugh at my expense. I'm there to entertain. That's going to be a lot of the Ardalan Dental side. We just like to have fun as a pediatric dental office. And then the Dr. Reza Ardalan side, I'm trying to bring good tips, whether it's on the business side of dentistry or if it's on the clinical tips. So we kind of do a little bit of everything, but it's always passion, it's always energy, regardless of what it is. So yeah, just look us up at Dr. Reza Ardalan or Ardalan Dental.
Nice. Thank you. So Dr. Reza, so we talk about the early patterns that shaped us as leaders. So I'd like to start there. Let's go back to the beginning. What kind of kid were you growing up, and how did those early years shape how you lead today?
Listen, if you talk to my parents or any adult that was around me, leader was going to be the last word that they were going to use to represent me. Troublemaker, was really what I was. It was being a leader. Anything of significance was not really on the radar. It's funny, I talk about it a lot. We get surrounded by people that are just exceptional, and they have all of these amazing life experiences. And I'll tell anybody, just as a shameless plug for you, Bukhalo, anybody that hasn't listened to more episodes of your podcast, it's awesome. You and the guests that you have are just outstanding, and everybody's got this rich history that they come with. And it wasn't until I got a little bit older that I also realized that my past, my history did have something to do with shaping who I am. I was born in Tehran, Iran, but the Iran that I was from is not the one people see depicted on the TV and internet today. Like in the early 1970s, it wasn't that much different than the US. It was a great place to be. And I tell the story that when we were vacationing in the US, when I was around 5 years old, I didn't realize that it was such a tumultuous time back home. And while we're visiting family and friends, the Iranian Revolution was taking place. And what started as a very short vacation ended up turning into an extended one, which was for life. And we ended up moving to the States and leaving behind everything that we knew back home. And as a kid, I had no idea. I didn't realize the challenges that my parents were facing. And we came to the States and it was starting over. But when you're a kid and you just don't know any better, sometimes that's great. And luckily my dad was amazing with computers. He'd worked and went to school in the States before. So we moved around a ton. So I probably lived in a dozen different states, went to a dozen different schools, 4 different high schools, and everywhere I was the new kid. It wasn't until I went to college. At that time, I went to University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, go Tar Heels, always representing. That was the longest place that I'd spent 4 years. So I was always the new one. I always, had to find a pivot. I had to find an entrance point. And it wasn't that I was necessarily leading. I was just trying to find ways to belong. And part of that was just, I had to learn to listen. I had to learn what is it that these other folks are talking about and how can I try to find my way to fit in. And I think that's what long-winded way of saying that I became more of a leader because I became like a connector. And I was really open to other people's ideas and opinions because I just didn't have much of a choice. So if I wanted to kind of fit in and be part of that group, I had to at least listen to what they had to say. So that just led one thing after another. And when 2 people would argue, I kind of be the one in the middle playing devil's advocate, say, what did you think about this point that he's making? And this guy's really not that bad of a guy. You should listen to this. And that's been me forever. All my friends are like, here comes the devil's advocate again. I'm like, you should listen to the other side. Like, just
wow.
So you make a decision.
Well, and so much about what you do today is putting yourself in your patient's shoes, which is why you provide such extraordinary service, right?
Absolutely.
So, no, that's awesome. That's awesome. And what drew you to pediatric dentistry? Why pediatric dentistry?
We have no dentist in my family. There's no pediatric dentist. So most people that go into medical, dental, somebody, was part of, like, there was an uncle or a parent and they just kind of follow in those footsteps. I think honestly for me at the time, it was the stability. It's an art and it's a science. But back in the day when you went into dentistry, it was a business. The idea of like corporations and corporate dentistries and these dental service organizations, the big groups, that didn't exist. You opened up, you put up your shingle and you were the practice. It was your name. You were representing yourself in the community. And early on, I was a little kid, that drew me towards it. And then when I went to high school and college, I started visiting other dental offices. And I remember walking into an office of a pediatric dentist named Dr. Mark Meyer in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, which is where I was living at the time. And I thought that he was this very older, wise guy. And turned out, in retrospect, he was 35, but as like a high school, like I thought that was really old back then. Now that I'm 50, I'm like, oh my God, he was a baby. But he just invited me to spend as much time in the practice. And I just loved watching what he did because it wasn't just the artistic part of dentistry. It was the behavior management and it was relationship building from day one. So I went to dental school and I thought, I want to like everything but pediatrics. Like, I know I like that. Let me be open-minded. And around every turn, it's like, here I am acting like a goofball, hanging out with the kids. And it just suited my personality. My ADHD probably couldn't do anything but pediatrics. Like, sitting in one spot doing a case for like 3-4 hours. I'm like, no, I like to get in, bring a lot of energy and just make sure that they have this experience. And that's what we've been able to do. So peds it's awesome. It's awesome. I love everything. Even the difficult kids, like those are the winners, right? Those are the ones that it's the challenge. And then later when you change them and they have such a positive view of the profession, I always say it's our job to make sure these kids become good grown-up dentists. They're good grown-up patients. So yeah, it fits my personality. I get to act like a goofball and dress up all day. Like I couldn't have a real job. No, this is.
So with adults, I imagine that's one of the differences. It's a little more serious, right? It's a little more like.
It can be. It's, it's funny because for pediatrics, we always say that I have 2 different clienteles. I have 2 different customers and I'm not afraid, and we'll get more into this, to talk about my profession is also a business because it is. And I have 2 customers. So I've got the child and I've got to build in a very short time a relationship and build trust. But I've also got the parent because they're the ultimate decision maker. And I also don't know they're paying for it, but I also don't know their dental history, and so many come in with these phobias and these fears of dentistry. So I'm part playmaker, part shrink. I have all of these different hats because I got to make sure the kid's happy. I got to make sure the parent is on board with everything that we're doing. And it's a relationship, and it's the three of us that are involved. We've got this triad. So that makes it a challenge. The kids are the easy part. The parents could sometimes be a little bit of a challenge.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah, but we're open-minded. Like I always tell folks, my practice is not a cookie cutter.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to find a solution for whatever the issue is, and it's going to be something that we're all happy with. And if we can't, listen, I'm not afraid to say, like, maybe this isn't the practice for you. But I'm so open-minded. I really believe going into this, we can find a solution. We're going to find something that's going to fit their budget, fit their needs, fit their lifestyle, fit their beliefs, and at the same time, making sure we're practicing sound science as well.
Got it. And what were some of the earliest leadership lessons you learned? I mean, you acknowledged that it is a business. I mean, and we'll get into it in a bit. I mean, audience, Dr. Reza has a serious business. This is not a joke. He has like 28 people on his payroll. So that is a business. That is serious. What were some of the earliest leadership lessons you learned, not in the classroom, but in life and in your career?
Yeah, it's funny because you say not in the classroom, because we didn't really learn leadership or business in the classroom, and
They don't touch on it at all. And
no, that's one of the pitfalls. And I get it; it's challenging. There's a lot of information you're trying to cram into dental school, and if you talk about the business aspect too early, first or second year dental student, they don't understand it. They just want to learn, how do I do a crown? How do I pull a tooth? How do I give a shot? Like, those are the things they're thinking about. Towards the tail end, it might make a difference, but there's so much you have to do with your requirements and get ready for boards and practice that it's really a missed opportunity. So the lessons were learned by trial and error. Like, I made every mistake that you could make. And it took a while to realize that I don't know what I don't know. And it is okay to ask for help. Like, because I know you're going to understand this for sure, but coaching matters. And to this day, even though we're successful, I coach other people, but at the same time, I still have my coaches. And I was, 4 or 5 years into practice when I realized that I was successful. We were doing well, but it was almost in spite of what I was doing. I mean, I had an entrepreneurial spirit, but I didn't know what I didn't know. So I was gaining traction because of personality and effort and my passion. But that comes to a head at some point, and you can only get so far with that. So we started reaching out and getting coaches on board. And when I realized that they have information that I don't, and the good coaches wouldn't just they don't give you the answer. They would come in and say, okay, I'm going to ask you a lot of questions. What's your mission? What's your vision? What are your cultural values? And I had no idea. And I remember going to a dental meeting, and we were successful. And there was another pediatric dentist, and I was asking him some questions, and he said, what's your core value? What's your mission statement? And I said a very generic thing that every pediatric dentist would say: we like to provide a warm and caring environment that's fun and inviting and blah, blah, blah. And he said, no, there's more. What do you actually believe? And it was even like a few years ago, we sat back with our team and we spent 6 months really diving back into that and said, our core values and who we are now is not who we were 10 years ago. What is it that we as a group believe in? What are our core values? What is our true mission statement? And we completely redesigned everything that we were doing because we had changed over the years, and we had to recognize that. So now when you ask anybody on my team, if you walk in tomorrow and you ask them, what's your mission? They're going to say, our mission at Ardalan Pediatric Dentistry is to go beyond teeth and make a difference. Because we realize it's more than just that. But that's a lot to accomplish. And then it goes into the pillars that we believe, which is community and character and quality. And each one of those has its own little tagline, because that's what we believe. But it took coaching and me asking a lot of questions and just recognizing that I wanted to do more than just fix teeth. Honestly, that's the easy part. Fixing teeth, listen, you can train anybody to do that. It's really making an impact and then realizing, yeah, we can make a bigger impact on the community. And if we have a successful business, we can do more. So people think it's a scary word to say business and dentistry. And I'm like, no, the more successful we are, the more outreach I have, the more impact I can make on my community. We're a blue collar town that I live in. So for us to be able to provide more and to be out there in the community, we have to be successful. Plus, you said I got 28 people that are on my team. They're on my team. Like, if we're not successful, like, they're going to see it. Like, everybody, they want to get paid. So
you have their families, their livelihoods. Yeah,
for sure. So that's when I realized that I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything. And then you immerse yourself in that and you say, man, I really need to learn And I'm not here trying to reinvent the wheel. There's plenty of
Oh, yeah.
businesses that are successful. And
Oh, yeah.
why can't we just borrow them and figure out how to make it work in our profession?
Right, right. Now, forgive me. I thought you were in Boca. Are you in Boca?
So I'm northern. So it's funny because I'm in a little town called Port St. Lucie.
Oh,
We're,
Port St. Lucie. Yeah, I know
yeah,
Port St. Lucie. Yeah.
yeah, we're an exit. We're a fancy exit. Our claim to fame
Yeah.
is we are the New York Mets spring training facility for like 2 weeks out of the year. It's very busy.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
considered South Florida, but I don't know. We're about an hour and a half, like north of like Boca, Palm Beach.
Yeah.
That's where
Yeah.
I was
I
living.
used to live in Jupiter a while
Yeah,
back. And so,
my
yeah,
first
yeah.
job. My first job was in Jupiter. Worked for a corporate dental group. No horror story, just wasn't my cup of tea. And I would drive. Listen, back in the day, it's a lost art, but you had to be a hustler. Like
Mhm.
pediatric dentists we didn't make very much money. I mean, we did fine, but it wasn't like what it is now. So I lived in Port St. Lucie because I couldn't afford to live in Jupiter. I was
Oh,
half a million. I graduated with a $500,000 in debt. $472,000 was my student.
I was renting a townhouse.
Yeah, I couldn't even like right. We looked at. I'm like, and I'm from North Carolina, and I'm like,
Oh,
how
wow.
much for that price? I could get, a couple acres and
Yeah.
several thousand square feet of home.
Yeah.
So we found Port St. Lucie by accident, and
Yeah.
it became home. And I love being part of this community. So it's been great.
Yeah. So you talked about having partnered with coaches that came in, and that's just great because some people, just aren't in a position or it's not on their radar to partner with a third party to help them hone in on the culture piece. So it sounds like you took it seriously and you honed in. Once you got clear on the cultural values that was important to you and your business and your staff, were there any leadership challenges that really stretched you, moments that forced you to grow, or even patterns you had to overcome?
Yeah, I think there's a lot. So, I started like what I would have loved to do what a lot of dentists did back in the day. You find an older dentist that's on the tail end of their practice. You go into their practice, you work for a couple of years, you buy in, he mentors you. When I came out, that wasn't the case. So we ended up opening up our own office, and it was 2,500 square foot office, and I couldn't afford the nice area of town. So I was on the other end of the tracks, and we started with nothing. But and people would say I named it Ardalan Pediatric Dentistry because it's as opposed to Sunshine Dental or Little Kids Smiles or whatever it is, because I only had one thing that I could market: me. I knew that I was different. I knew that I had this passion and this vision, and that's what I was selling was me. So, but this was before the era of social media and the internet. I wish I had that. So it was grassroots, and we had to be hustlers, right? So we were, I opened the first day, had no patients. And then if I did eventually have a patient, I'd see a patient at, 8 o'clock in the morning. And then I'd go out the back door, and in my car, I had a bunch of brownies and cookies, and I would just drive up and down the street. Anything that said MD, DMD, DDS, I would stop, introduce myself. The office would call my flip phone. I had my flip phone, cell phone, and say, "We got a patient." And I would haul butt back to the office. I'd come in through the back door. I'd put my lab jacket on. I'd see the patient like I was there the whole time. And as soon as they were done, back in the car, back in my little Honda Civic, I'm just running around. So early on, you could do that. The
You were
problem
doing sales. I mean, that's sales.
That's 100% sales. And that's when people say sales is not a bad job. I'm selling knowledge. Like in my office, I start telling my team, we're selling expertise. We're selling knowledge. We're just trying to share information. It's ultimately up to the parent and that child, but really the parent to make a decision. I'm not pushy. I'm just explaining what I see. You're coming to me for my expertise, and we're going to take as much time as we need. And I see infants, I see babies that come to me because they have, they're not nursing properly and they might need a tongue tie release. And I see teenagers and college kids. We see the full gambit, but we need to talk about it with the parents and say, this is what I'm seeing. So I'm not selling a product or trying to coerce somebody to do something that they don't want to do. It's a conversation.
Yeah.
But the problem was when we decided we'd kind of outgrown our space, we had a decision to make. Do I stay in this small space? And I could probably have stayed my career doing that, single doc. But in my brain, in my mind, I knew that if I built this bigger thing that was in my brain, this vision that I had, I could do more. And we took a big risk. And I went from this 2,500 square foot space that had about 6 chairs to now I'm in 8,000 square feet. If people are looking at it, if they see it on YouTube, that I'm actually in, I'm going to hold this up a little bit. I'm actually in my parents' spa. We built
Oh
a parents'
yeah. No,
spa
I
here.
saw it on the website.
It's like, massage chairs, because that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to give an experience. But when we came here, there was a lot of growing pains, having the team and then getting to the point to realize that I can't do this by myself. You hit that the entrepreneurial spirit will take you so far. And I started taking classes in entrepreneurship. I took Dan Sullivan's strategic coach, which was great.
Wow.
And I'm the only dentist in there. And we're learning that business is business. And you can take the tools and the lessons you learn from other businesses. We do a lot of Ritz-Carlton training in here because we want to provide a 5-star experience in our little podunk town. I love it. So we want to offer something that other people aren't. And people think that we're a little over the top, and they're right. We're extra. That's okay. We're extra.
I love it because it sounds like you're not trying to be like anyone else. You're comfortable setting yourself apart. And when I think about some of the best restaurants or best hotels, they are not like everyone else. They're trying to be different. And so I can respect that. I even respect that you're passionate about learning and putting yourself in settings that other dentists might not be in.
Yeah, I'm in all sorts of meetings. I'm almost always either the only dentist, or at dental meetings, I'm always the only pediatric dentist, because I don't like, should we rephrase that? I don't mind being the dumbest person in the room, but I don't want to stay there. Right. So I surround myself with people that can make me the best version of myself. But it takes a while, and it's a challenge. And this is for anybody. It has nothing to do with dentistry. You talk about this. We've talked about this. When you're too comfortable, you can't grow. You got to step out of that box. And it's scary. And the older you get, it's very easy to become complacent. And those are the two biggest lessons that I learned. One, when we started to grow, we started to drift away from what our core values were, because the team got bigger, and the core people that were with me got it. And the new people, they walked into this Shangri-La. They walked into the Taj Mahal.
They didn't know the hard times.
They didn't know when we're second mortgaging the house.
Right.
Everybody, they didn't know any of that. So this is all that they knew. And we had to go back and talk about our past and learn from it. And then also to say, now we do have these advantages. How are we going to take this to the next level? And then when we do something, there's other people that'll copy it, and our team would get so mad. And I'm like, no.
That's a compliment.
Yeah, girl, it's a compliment for us. I'm like, and I ask my team, they get annoyed. I'm like, what does that mean? Oh, we have to raise the bar. Yes, we have to raise the bar. We have to raise the bar. It's not easy, but that's what we're here to do. I'm not, and it's not because I want to be the best. I do want to be the best, but that's because, and then what we do is a standard bearer. But there's so many industries that do it. So bringing the newer team members into the culture. And then the other thing was to say, okay, now that we're here sitting at the top, now what? And there's always that little person on my shoulder. Like I believe in collaboration, not competition. But there's a part of me that still thinks, listen, one day there's going to be some other young hotshots that are going to come in, and they understand social media better than you do. They got the energy. They're young. They're hungry. They're coming after you. So there's always a part of me that's like, all right, okay, don't rest on your laurels. And that's what gets me excited. Like, you can probably hear it in me. Like, we have these kind of conversations. This energizes me. It energizes me to be around people like you, Bacalo. Our conversations are great because, like, if people listen, like, your shift strategy, like, that's brilliant. That is brilliant. That has nothing. Any business can take from that. You got to understand where you're coming from, establish it so that you can grow. So that's where I'm at now. Is part of me is mentoring and educating and telling people, listen, don't worry so much. Okay. Like, let me talk to the younger version. It is going to be a challenge. Nobody said it was going to be easy. Nobody said it was going to be easy. You have to understand that. And then for me also, what is the best way for me to level up? And sometimes it's surrounding myself with folks that are outside of dentistry that can teach me things that I can bring back to the profession and share. I'm not trying to keep this to myself. Like, I'm at the point in my life and career that I'm trying to get a message out there that we can do this together. We got to connect. We got to stop worrying about me, and make it we. So
yeah. No, I love that. And, when you think back to, who you were when you started your practice, what do you wish someone told you about building a practice and getting, like, just building success? What do you wish someone told you that you had to find out the hard way?
So I think I'm lucky that over time I had good mentors that took it upon themselves to help me. And then as I got older, I made sure to try to search them out. So I think that's one of the things that I would tell folks. And this is what I keynote on, what I lecture on, is the idea of connection. You are not in this alone, especially in dentistry. We are on an island. Everybody hears the stories of, dentists have the highest divorce rates and suicide rates and alcohol rates and all of this. And even like the American Dental Association did their wellness study. And the majority of dentists are stressed and depressed. And if you're younger or you're female, those numbers are even higher. And I think it's because half the time you think you're alone. We work in these very tiny, tiny spaces. We are perfectionists. We work in millimeters. So every little detail we notice. And honestly, like nobody really wants to go to the dentist. Nobody likes us. You don't want to see me. I mean, I get them as
I
kids.
love my dentist.
You're an oddball.
My dentist. I praise God for Dr. Rizzuta in Buckhead,
I
Atlanta.
love it. I love it. But because you had challenges, right?
Yes.
So you learned to appreciate it. Yeah. I mean, and again, and listen, we're here. I'm telling everybody, we're here to help. We didn't put the cavity there. We didn't put the toothache there. We're trying to
You're
help.
right. You're right.
But,
You're right. And it took, like, obviously it takes, I don't know, everybody learns differently. It comes down to how early you were taught to value
sure.
your
Yes.
dental health, right? I unfortunately had to learn the hard way for a number of reasons that we talked about earlier. But, now I have a team of folks that are just hardcore reliable, just they just are there for me in a
Yes.
major way. I mean, this last experience I had, my doctor had to partner and collaborate with 3 other specialists on my mouth in his own time, along with his other patients. And, it took him some time, and he was so patient. And just, because, just coordinating conversations with all these specialists. Oh, you saw Bucala? What do you think about me trying this? Because there was a unique situation. And it's very detailed and very involved and very costly. Right. And then the appointments as well. So, I mean, I've seen so many different styles, across medical providers.
Yeah.
I've seen self-aware doctors and doctors that are not as self-aware. And sometimes Jersey's in the building for those cases, because
what you're mentioning about that doctor, that's a sign of a good provider because he's truly in it for you. And that's what I do. The idea of interdisciplinary care. And people say, well, why did you start doing it the way that you did? And I said, I got tired of going into practices. Like, listen, I go to the medical doctor and, you walk in this office, somebody's behind a glass counter and what do you want? And they're on their phones and sign in. And then you sit down on these old, uncomfortable chairs and you're looking at a 3-year-old magazine and you're waiting. And then finally they call you back and then you wait some more. And the customer service, unless it's like, maybe a dermatology office or high-end plastic surgeon, I'm like, it just wasn't there. And I kept saying, why is it that we can't have excellent clinical care and excellent customer service at the same time? Like, it can't be that hard. My couches, if you come and you sit down, you will fall asleep on them. My massage chairs, like I went to a chiropractic show. I sat in 100 different massage chairs before buying these ones.
Yeah.
Because I thought that was important because I wanted to spoil everybody.
Yeah, no, I am impressed. Like I can tell just from looking at your website, I could tell the quality of care you provide. And I've been
That's
into
one of our core values. That is one of our core values. And we say quality, exceptional experiences.
Yeah.
We don't always hit it, but that's what we strive for.
Yeah, no, and there are some very elaborate dental offices. I mean, some really cool features that really relax the patient. And so, but you've seen it, like there's the whole spectrum out there. And so when you see quality care, I mean, you're set apart.
We have all of these like bells and whistles, but if we're not coming from the heart and we don't care about the patient like this stuff's going to get old.
Yeah.
Like you're going to get this, it's like, oh, so you have massage chairs, but you're always late. You charge too much.
Yeah.
So when I talk to young docs, I'm establishing relationships, whether it's with the patient, with the parent. This is bonus. They come in and we tell folks like we're setting a really high standard on purpose, and that's on my team. They're expecting a lot from us, so you better meet it and then exceed it.
Yeah.
And if we can't, like maybe this isn't the place for you because we do push each other hard, but we rely on each other. And that's one of the lessons I learned, that I cannot do this alone.
Yeah.
My team is amazing. It's amazing. I can't do this with them. I rely on them heavily. So I try to make sure they're incredibly well trained. I have no secrets here. We are very open. What are the things we do to set ourselves apart? Every single Tuesday, we have in-office training. So every Tuesday, one week, it's like all of us meeting, talking about the ins and outs and what needs to go on. One week, I'm presenting on something culture or vision related. The other weeks, my team's presenting, where I bring in speakers. Those are the things that allow us to continually evolve. Right. We have to be there to support each other. If you're having a tough time, we got your back. We love on each other. And there's tough times. It's tough, but we gotta support each other. And that's what I'm telling the young folks. It's take the time to train your team.
Yeah.
It is hard, but ultimately, it's only going to make things better because you can just provide better, more exceptional care.
Right. And you do a lot of that on the front end. Once they're hired, that onboarding
Oh, yeah.
is pretty
Oh,
thorough, right?
no, that's not a dental thing. Those are the things that I learned. I
Oh,
learned
yeah.
that because we did onboard people, and I just assumed, well, you got a dental license or you're a hygienist, so you have front office training, and then you would actually listen to the conversation, or you'd record a call, and you're like, ooh, that doesn't sound like the message that I'm trying to give. And we'd have coaches that would come in and listen to the calls, and then they'd play back for me, and I have utmost confidence. Then you'd hear it back, and you're like, oh, that's cringeworthy. That's awful. But that's my fault. That is on me because I didn't do a good job. As the owner of any business, you have to accept the responsibility. That is my name on the door.
Yeah.
Even if somebody else makes a mistake, it is ultimately on me. So
Yeah.
we don't place blame. We do a strategic coach thing called an experience transformer, and we're all very vulnerable. It's like, okay, we made this mistake. Let's see if it's a system thing or is it like an individual thing. So, hey, let's talk about it. Here's what went well. Here's what didn't. Here's what we're going to improve. Here's our new system. How we're going to do it. But that's not it. We don't learn that in dental school.
Yeah. No,
How do people
everything.
want you to come in and teach us?
Yeah, no, everything you're talking about, these are based on like a lot of corporations talk about it, training, HR talk about, continuous improvement.
Yeah,
And, just really being able to find ways to, look at the root cause of whatever breakdown occurred
absolutely.
and not being afraid of that, just building that into the culture where people speak openly about, okay, hey, what could we have done differently? Just to keep that innovation, the spirit of innovation going. If they don't build that muscle
Yeah.
around looking at things differently, challenging their thinking, looking at themselves critically, putting a mirror up, then the innovation stalls. So,
And
you're doing the right thing.
you've probably got seen it so many times in offices where if you ask or a business, you ask a team member, like, well, why didn't you say anything? It's like, well, I'm not allowed, or I'm scared, I might lose my job. And here it's like a requirement.
Yeah.
It's a requirement. Listen, I got thick skin. I don't always like to hear when something doesn't go well. We talk about the good. We do our best to celebrate all the positives and the good. But my team has the ability, if there's an issue, like let's talk about it. Okay, we got a Tuesday meeting. Get up on stage. Like let's go. What went wrong? But they have to not have the fear that they're going to get in trouble.
Yeah. And you bring up a good point because not every company is the same.
Right.
Not every dental office is the same. And it's
Sure.
hard to know what came first, the chicken or the egg. Did that person have that fear fresh out the womb, or did
Mhm.
they experience that kind of culture that
Yeah.
kept them small? So you stay in a culture that keeps you small for 10 years, and now it closes and you have to go looking for jobs. And now
Mhm.
you meet Reza Ardalan.
Yeah.
And he's like, come out your shell. And
Yeah.
you're like, what? So you really have to it's great that you give people room to adjust and rise to a different standard because you're setting the new expectation. You're giving them permission to play
And I have to see,
bigger.
did I give you the tools? And if I didn't, that's on me. Like you talk about that, there wasn't anybody initially that was teaching me any of this. So when somebody gave me the tools, it's coaching. I played sports growing up. I was never really good. I was okay, but I tried really, really hard. So I was that good. You're a good practice player.
Mhm.
So it's like that middle school basketball team, the layup line, that's where I shine, right? Like, but in practices, I'm working my butt off because I liked the coaching. I wanted to be around that. So anybody that was willing to teach, I drifted towards that. And we do the same thing. It's about teaching. We teach our patients, we teach the parents.
See,
But if you're ignoring your team members, like you're
yeah,
missing out. Like
yeah.
you're missing. Somebody made a great example and said, well, what happens? This is not mine. Again, half of the ideas aren't even mine. I just take them from really people that are much smarter than I am. And somebody said, well, what happens if you train your team member, spend all this time, money to train them, and they leave? And then the twist of that is, what happens if you don't train them and they stay?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you have to get to know your team.
For
And
sure.
shame on you if you didn't get to know your team to know enough about what's in it for them to stay. Now
Right.
there are unique situations where people have to do what's best for their families, obviously.
Absolutely.
And sometimes folks are comfortable opening up, sometimes they're not. But it's really on us as leaders to get to know our team, get to know what motivates them, what wakes you up to come, every morning to come to work here.
Yeah. And
And
they're not all the same.
right. For some, they'll say the money. I'm not leaving.
Yeah.
You pay me well. For some, it'll be like, you know what? I enjoy the people. For some, it's like I just enjoy how much vacation you give me. you know?
Right.
And so it just really varies, but I think you have to know that, like even something as simple as like when something comes up with my daughter, you don't give me a hard time when I have to leave early. Little things like that, but you
Mhm.
have to get in touch with what it is that wakes them up and commits them to you. Because yeah, that's just an important factor. Yeah.
For sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people don't do that. And it's a skill you have to learn, and
Yeah.
I'm still learning. Like,
Yeah.
I've been practicing 20 years, and I'm still learning, and it's like, what are ways that we can continually improve?
Yeah.
And every conversation, I hear a tip, I'm like, "Huh, that's a good point." I'll start to talk to somebody, and I'm like, "I'm sorry, I'm not being rude. I wanna write that down." 'Cause I'm like, "That's a really good point." And then
Yeah.
I get really engaged. I stay curious. You're curious. You're doing
Oh,
this
sure.
podcast, not because you have to, it's because 'cause you're curious, and you're
Yeah.
spreading such great knowledge. Your guests that have come on are amazing, and you're getting the best from them out and sharing it with everybody else because they have a gift. I've learned so much from you and your guests. Hopefully, like, somebody will learn something from this, but it
Oh,
takes somebody like you that wants to step out of the comfort zone and say, I'm
yeah,
gonna do something
yeah.
different.
Well,
Let's go.
you asked me, like I mean, I know sometimes people might think leadership is just about maybe a corporate leader, but no. I mean, you're running a major business and
Yeah.
everything you're talking about, like I meet leaders that, get promoted and no one gives them training and they have to figure it out. So everything you're saying is their exact experience. I meet leaders that, basically find themselves having to, have that vision and believe in themselves to go higher to, like you decided to go after a larger practice and you built it. And that
Yeah.
and that's scary, right? So
It's super funny. Yeah. But in the
yeah,
end of it, it was a challenge, but I knew that if I didn't do it, that I would look back and I would regret it.
I think the learning piece, it's a part of why I do what I do because I wonder what our world would be like if we were all more aware of how we came across and more aware of our patterns. I mean, when you
Lost art. Yeah.
so, but on the corporate side, or whether it's a business, you're also getting a significant amount of people's time while they're working for you. So we have a way of affecting people's lives, whether we realize it or not.
We
So
spend more time with the people we work with than our own families. I mean,
yeah, yeah,
we're here together 8 hours a day. So
yeah,
we need to, and there's going to be times that we might struggle or somebody might not get along, but we try to do a lot of stuff as a group.
yeah,
So we still like each other. And you understand, like, if something bad happens, it's like, it's not personal,
yeah,
it's just, all right. Or if somebody's having a bad day, it's like, so and so had a bad day. Let's support them. Let's love on them. And it's okay for us to talk like that. And we say, we are not, I told you this before we got on. I'm like, we are not everybody's cup of tea. We are
right.
not.
No,
Not
no, and I realized
I'm
that.
not for everybody.
Yeah,
I
me
get it.
too.
I'm a little over the top. I'm a little extra, and I'm trying to tone it down to be professional talking to you. But I don't know. This is who I am. I
Yeah,
mean, we gotta. I hear about so many of your guests that that have talked about being your authentic self, and I wholeheartedly agree with them. And for somebody like me that always had to be a chameleon, I didn't fit in anywhere, so I tried to fit in everywhere
yeah,
until I realized maybe I don't need to fit in everywhere, and I'm just going to be me. And that's when your creativity increases, and you can say,
yeah,
"Well, I have this vision. I'm willing to listen, but I don't have to be in the box."
right.
Other people are going to put you in a box, and I'm like, "Well, I don't want to be in this box. I want to be in this circle over here, or there's a
Yeah.
sphere. I'm going over here, and I want to play in this same box." And
And
that's where you grow.
yeah, no, you brought up. I mean, you've answered so many of my questions. I'm not even sticking to the script anymore because you've just like you checked off on so many.
My God, not everybody's going to kick it. It's going to take us here, there, all around. Yeah.
But no, but you teed up the next one really nicely, which is, what do you think helps people trust you? I mean, not just as a dentist, but as a leader. I mean, you just got through talking about how you went through this period of trying to fit in and now you're comfortable with your uniqueness. What do you think helps people trust you, not just as a dentist, but as a leader? I mean, you have 28 people trusting you with their careers.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah.
What do
And,
you think
and and getting into like organized dentistry and all the things we do, I think I'm learning that I'm on your side.
Mhm.
I'm on your side. Like,
Mhm.
I do believe that there could be an amicable solution with whatever it is. And unfortunately, the way that our world is going,
Mhm.
everybody's being forced to pick a side. I still wholeheartedly believe there's good in this world, and most people are somewhere in the middle. And you believe some of this, you believe some of this, a little of this over here. And if we're open to having a conversation, I love talking to people. And I'm not, and it's hard because you have to learn how to be a listener. And I have a lot to say sometimes. So I have to stop and listen. but I'm not necessarily trying to push an agenda. I don't go into conversations necessarily trying to convince you of something. Because at the end of the day, if you and I have a conversation and it was a good conversation and I understand your point a little better and you understand mine, that's a win. We may not have agreed, but nobody says you're going to agree. There's 8 billion people in this world. There's what, 400 million people in the United States? You're not going to agree with everybody, but we've lost the art of communicating. So for me, I go into conversations just willing to listen and say, well, tell me what you're thinking. I don't have to agree with it. I might not do, but at least I want to listen. And then I want to take your opinions. If I happen to be higher up on the ladder, let me take your opinions to these other folks, or at least let me find a way to put you two in a room together and connect you. And sometimes that's all it takes. Is I'm not trying to win. I mean, I like winning, but it's like, I'm not going to these conversations and say, you have to believe what I say. Like, okay, if you don't, do you at least understand my point? Because I want to understand your point.
Right.
Because I'm always the oddball. Like I don't belong anywhere. So I'm always just like always the little weirdo that's going in there. I'm like, I don't know. What are y'all doing? What are you doing? I like where those guys. Why are you hanging out with that guy? I don't know. That's a nice guy. Why are you hanging out? I don't know. She's nice. I'm not here to. Who am I to judge you? I'm not here to judge you. I just want to listen. So that's how I've learned to be a better leader, is by listening. And sometimes if you're willing to listen, man, there's somebody there that has a wealth of knowledge. Like I tell my team, there's 28 brains in here. We need to use all of them. So I want your opinions. I mean, don't be afraid to share it. Like we're smarter together. We're just losing the art of conversation.
Yeah.
We're losing it, but it's not lost yet. It's not lost yet. Yeah.
No. I mean, so what some of the themes that I'm getting from this conversation. So I love the fact that despite it not being touched on in dental school, you went out in the world to get what you needed from a knowledge standpoint. So that continuous improvement, I think that's an important factor. And that's a nugget you shared, the listening piece. I mean, even for me, it's something that I'm seeing as such it's a skill that like we've heard Christine is someone who I've had on the podcast, and she talks about how a lot of people believe they're good listeners, and that's a part of the challenge. We have a blind spot around our listening. So even I'm looking for ways to be a lot more intentional around how I'm listening, because so much about the podcast is about me listening, but there's a lot around being present and quieting the noise in your head that has to happen before you can be with someone and really listen. So let's see. So continuous improvement through knowledge building, and then listening was something you touched on. And then just acknowledging that you're not alone. I mean, I have heard that stat about dentists and suicide and some of the depression. I hadn't really understood it until you broke it down. So I appreciate you breaking that down. And because
we're not alone though. And there was
I care so much about my dentist that I just want to give them all.
That's a person that gets it. That's also a person that understands that they have something to give and they're willing to work outside. So in this day and age, as the younger profession comes in, the younger folks in the profession, everything is on social media, and there's some really good content. It's a great way to communicate.
Yeah.
But
I think I saw a dentist that dances really
he's great. I try to do that too, but I know that when I do it, it's to have people laugh at me. Like I get it. I'm not trying to be cool, but it's still fun. We love doing it. But for us, it's a great way to communicate. But you lose the art of these conversations. So I tell folks, network, go to your meetings, go to your local dental societies. And so much of it happens outside the classroom. It's happening at the lunch table, at dinner, for me, like at the bar, grabbing a cocktail. Like we're all just sitting there having a talk. That's when you connect, and the connection is key. That's what I talk about now, what I lecture on. We do some clinical, some business, value creation. But a lot of what I keynote on is the idea of connection. The connection is key. And sometimes what you're looking for, you need to be that for somebody else. And ultimately it'll come back to you. But you're not alone. We're not alone.
Yeah. No, you bring up a good point. I mean, this podcast came about because, you reach a point where you realize, okay, what am I going to offer to those around me? Right. We're coming up in the world and we're thinking we need to take. At a certain point, you do have knowledge and wisdom to offer others, or even just a take on the world that maybe if you were, your younger self had that, where would you have been? So really that's a part of what this podcast is about, stretching myself to be more, open in terms of sharing any sort of nugget that I have and learning from others too. So
I hope your listeners are listening. Y'all hear that? That's gold right there. That's solid gold. And on the other end, be willing to take it. It's just listen.
Yeah.
Yeah, give. It's better to give, right? And when you receive, like, be thankful for it and be appreciative. When we get this conversation, we're done. I thank you for giving me this opportunity, this platform that you have. I mean, I know how hard you're working. This is great what you're doing. I'm appreciative of you. I'm appreciative of everything that you're doing for your profession, getting your message out, man. You're killing it, girl. I'm proud of you. This is great. We need to support each other.
Thank you, Dr. Reza. I appreciate that. Now, is there anything on the radar that you're looking forward to? Anything you want to share or promote? Just to make sure the audience is aware of, just anything you're looking forward to, maybe in 2025 or that's on the horizon for you that we should know about.
Yeah, I think at end of 25 and 26, we're
2026.
26. Yeah, we're taking a little bit of a different approach. I mean, I'm still practicing. I still practice full time. I still lecture clinically and on business, but I'm really taking this opportunity to just share the message of connection. So really, and sometimes just outside of dentistry, just the whole idea. So you'll see me more on stage as keynoting, not just talking about a clinical topic, how to do this crown or this filling, because this message, these conversations, I think are important. And if we don't step out there, I worry about the direction of all of our professions. And sometimes we just need to get out there and say, you're not alone. You can do this. There are people there to support you. I'm here to support you and be your cheerleader and just get that message out. So in 26, there's a lot more speaking opportunities. So I'm out there. If anybody's interested in having a crazy guy come out there and just get your crowd pumped up, that's the stuff that I'm taking a little more time off of, when I'm not practicing, just getting out there and just spreading the word that we're all in this together, that you have supporters, you have people that are rooting for you. And if you don't find me, man, I'm here to root for you. Like, I want to be your cheerleader.
I love that.
So, and yeah, my social media presence, it's positive. You're not going to, there's so much bad news that's out there. And I'm just like, oh, we need some positivity in this world. Like, let me be your glass half full. So if you need something that's not doom and gloom, Ardalan Dental, Dr. Reza Ardalan, that's what you follow. I'm going to be giving you positive tips and just be there to encourage folks and really reaching out to those younger folks and just say, hey, you're not alone. You have us willing to help. And if you're longer, more seasoned in your career, do exactly what Bacalo was talking about. Get out there and give. You have something that's important for somebody to hear, right? We all have something. Like, get your message out, get your word out. So, yeah.
No, I love that.
Bacalo's podcast. He's got great people.
I love that, because I don't know that we get to hear from enough of our doctors if we're not at a dental conference or a medical conference. I don't know that we get to hear from our cardiologists or anything like that. And
the message resonates.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so much around the nature of how you cross paths with patients that the focus is on their health, right? And so it's great to see you and hear what's passionate, on your mind outside of that setting. So it's just cool for me. So it's great to hear that you have something on your heart that you want to share. So that's great.
I appreciate you, girl. Appreciate that.
Yeah. Let's see. Before we wrap up, I want to just throw a few things at you, just so the audience can get like a different point of view around your personality and who you are. So it's just a lightning round of a few questions just to kind of get your reaction. So there's no right or wrong. No right or wrong.
My favorite kind of test. You can't be wrong.
So there are 3 questions. So the first one is, what's one non-negotiable in your daily routine?
This is a new one. Okay. Is I've been concentrating in my morning routine is breath work. I'm kind of going down that rabbit hole. I do a lot more performing. And as I get a little older, some Wim Hof breathing. I still try to get caught up on the sleep part. Like, that's really what I want to focus on. I'm still not great at it, because middle of the night I'll get this idea. But just starting the day off with just a quiet moment, meditate for a minute, do my breath work, that just gets me on balance. Again, I love that. I'm in Florida, so I already get the sunshine, and I just get to start the day on the right foot. I'm like, okay, I've got a nice reset. Let's get to work. It's harder when you get older, so I gotta just take that little moment to myself and breathe and get focused, and then get ready to attack the day.
Got it. Love that. And what's a piece of advice you come back to again and again?
This is what I'm talking about all the time. Connection is key. And sometimes what we're searching for, we got to be that for somebody else. And you're not in this alone. And sometimes you do need times for solitude and self-reflection, but we're naturally social beings. And sometimes you got to find your chosen family, that support group, that's there for you and that you can be a cheerleader for. So connection.
Okay. And what's something your patients or team might be surprised to learn about you?
I think most of the listeners even will be surprised that I wasn't naturally an extrovert. Like you get this guy that this comes out, but I learned that was a skill that I needed to develop. And then once I did, I learned that sometimes having interactions can be invigorating and energizing. It can also be exhausting. So you have to surround yourself with good people, good conversation.
Mhm.
But people are like, oh, you're always so outgoing. I'm like, I wasn't. I was the new kid that was like sitting by himself at lunch, and I had to force
Wow.
myself to ask somebody, "Do you mind if I sit with you?" And being
Wow.
vulnerable, being scared. So people are, you're so extrovert. I'm like, well, I am now because that's I just learned that I like these conversations. So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
No,
people can learn that skill. It's a learned skill.
okay. Well, Reza, thank you so much for making time for us today. I have to say, dentists have always held a special place in my heart. There's something about how you care for people, not just treat symptoms, that's stayed with me over the years. And hearing how you approach leadership through the lens of just, care and thoughtfulness and being intentional. I mean, it's just a powerful reminder for how you can make a difference for folks. So thank you. Thank you for
I
all you do.
appreciate that. I appreciate you. I appreciate what you're doing. I'm excited to follow your journey. You're
Thank
out there. I don't think people realize how hard you're working. People think I'm working hard.
you.
Sometimes I'm doing the real work, ladies and gentlemen. So
Thank
I'm
you.
incredibly proud of you and excited to follow your journey and wish you nothing but love and success.
Thank you. Thank you. And everybody, and here's what I hope you take away from today's conversation with Dr. Reza Ardalan. Leadership doesn't always show up wearing a title. Sometimes it shows up in how we actually choose to serve, how we use our voice, our platform, or pain. Whether you're in medicine, business, or just trying to lead your life more intentionally, today's episode is your reminder that impact grows when you lead with heart, not just habit. And to everyone listening, if today's episode made you pause, reflect, or even smile, share it with a friend. We don't need to be perfect leaders. We just need to be honest ones and open ones. So stay curious, stay open, and keep moving beyond your patterns. Have a great week, everyone. See you soon. Thanks for listening to Beyond the Pattern. If this episode spoke to you, leave a review or send a message. I read every note, and you can reach out to me to get more tools and resources at bukalaogantala.com.